One of the great things about taking the time to figure out what's real for you, your knowledge, experience, and perspective, is it gives you a chance to learn. We've been talking about what's real all week, real kind of the capital REAL, as we try to help people figure out where you're at right now and where you want to be, especially as we get close to Labor Day and the start of the fourth quarter of 2023. Today, we're going to talk about what you can learn. Monday, we talked that it's not 2020 anymore, so things are likely changing. We talked about recognize on Tuesday. We talked about evaluate on Wednesday, activate yesterday. But once you've done all of that, the only thing left to do is learn. We'll talk more about that on episode 904 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote provides an opportunity for business owners and leaders to discover what is real for them and to be impacted by what is real for others. That is the Renegade way. Let's get real. We all face challenges and get stuck occasionally and are looking for an antidote. Each weekday, this show dives into a topic that may have you stuck, frustrated, and uncertain. Our goal is to share our value in an effort to help you find that one thing, the antidote to your challenges, so that you can get results and make more money. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
You missed it, Tom. I was trying to dazzle you with some guitar, faking the music to that as you were doing
I saw. I watched.
Okay. You weren't reacting. You usually react. You disappoint me.
Yeah, I was in the middle of trying to do something else, and I just sort of.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to it another day. Good morning. And yes, folks, this is recorded. So sadly, we cannot put your comments in the show, but please put them along the side of the broadcast, wherever you're looking, below it, wherever, because we will see it and everyone else will see it. You never know. What you say might be the magic that someone needs to hear today. They might learn from what you have discovered that's real for you.
You want to keep doing the opening, or are you?
No, I'm good.
All right. How are you doing? Well, other than that,
I am. I'm trying to tie up a couple loose ends, and then I've got some travel for today, and then hopefully some golf by 2:00.
Nice. How's the weather supposed to be?
Supposed to be beautiful, like in the mid 70s, sunny. Tomorrow, cloudy, low 80s. Friday, cloudy, and I think high 70s.
Nice.
A little bit of a breeze just to make it fun. I mean, what's golf without a breeze?
Sure. I don't know.
Doesn't matter. When you're playing golf, the weather's not a problem to me. I'll play in the rain as long as it's not cold.
You ever played in the snow?
Never.
No.
I've played in sleet. Not much fun.
No. So the weather does matter a little.
Yeah, there's a line I draw.
Fair enough. All right, everybody. Well, let's help Bob get on his way. So let's get started. Thanks for joining us today on today's Antidote. We're going to have a conversation, as I mentioned, about what's real. We've been talking about it all week, and today we're going to try to wrap it up with a bow around one of the key points. There's only 4, so I guess there are all, as I mentioned to Bob on a side conversation earlier, they're all of value. Learn. And as we go through that conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas, please feel free to put them in the comments, as Bob mentioned. We can't add them to the show because this is recorded. And we know that it'll have an impact on someone out there who is watching the show and catches your comments and says, I never considered that perspective before. Or that's some insight that I find of real value that adds to my knowledge. So please feel free to share your value, because you just never know who it might impact. And at the conclusion of that conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you figure out how to take that next step when you might be stuck, frustrated, uncertain, really not sure what to do next. Or you've taken some action, like today, you've recognized where you're at, you've evaluated how it's gone, you have activated the next steps. well, you're not sure how to learn from all of that. We might be able to help you today find that next step. Well, how to learn. Probably the word judgment is going to come up, I would imagine. Before we get to that conversation, though, we encourage you to share your celebrations in the chat, because we know that once you share your celebrations, puts you in a little different mindset. And while you do that, we are going to share what's real for us in the moment.
Let's get real, Tom.
You like that, don't you?
I do. It's got to have something. You know.
Okay.
Would you like to get real, Tom, or shall I get real?
It's up to you.
Well, I'll get real then. How's that? One of the things I've learned, I've played a lot of golf in the last 10, 12 years. And one of the things I realized was early in my golf career, and I use that term loosely, I would get very, very frustrated with each shot I took. If it wasn't perfect, it drove me crazy.
How many perfect shots did you hit? Just
I had
curious.
a couple, one or two, maybe every month or two.
They went in the hole?
No, perfect. You can't get in the hole with one shot if it's a 400-yard hole. But to me, a perfect shot would be a shot where I aimed for a target spot and the ball landed there. And so I recognized that approach was driving me crazy because I was constantly frustrated. And so I started to evaluate that. And I realized that I was out to play golf, to have fun. And that fun did not involve having to be perfect. And I activated a different approach. I look now at every couple shots and I try very hard to let go of the past shots. Can't change what happened with the shot I took.
No.
And so I've learned that on the golf course, and I've tried to bring that to my business life and all aspects of my life. I'm not always good at it, but it's because I can do it on the golf course, I know it's possible to do it in other parts of my life. And it's funny, people play golf with me and they'll be like, it doesn't seem to bother you. I'm like, it doesn't. I'm out here to have fun. This is recreation. This is sun. This is time around people I enjoy. What's to be bothered by? And they're like, oh, I just made a horrible shot. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So that new attitude towards it has really made golf more enjoyable for me. And it's also steered me towards what I need to be more about in my business and all aspects of my life. So I think that was some really important learning over a course of about 2-3 years.
Fair enough.
That's me getting real, Tom.
Okay.
How about you? You got some real for us today, or?
Yeah. I mean, earlier this week was my birthday, as we talked about on the show, and what I found was, goes back to the less is more. I just wasn't doing a lot of work yesterday. And
yesterday being your birthday,
my birthday, correct? And I got comfortable with the fact that that's okay. It's one day, and it's I've done a lot of things in the past, over the past few weeks, and that it was okay to sort of decide that that's where it is. Now, in doing that, I've also recognized that it's I didn't complete some other things that I do want to complete. And so it's pushing some things back, and I'm okay with that. That I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not focused. I'm thinking about something else. The night before that, I did this difficult workout at the gym, and so my body was a little tired, and that's okay. And I just wanted to enjoy the day. And I think that's one of the things about it is that things are only behind if we think they're behind. If we give the space that this is behind, it's just different. And I think that so often that's not the case. And I think it reminds me of our conversation about how do I fit 5 days of work into 2 days, and that you really can't. And if you're real with yourself, you've got 2 days to do what you can do with it. And then go out and enjoy your holiday. Like you're trying to enjoy your golf game.
Okay, but I would say that none of the things that you had to get done affected other people, correct? And you still complied with your responsibilities. Because it would be reckless to say, hey, I'm going to get this done for you, and then not do it just because you didn't feel like it yesterday. You're not advocating that, correct?
Well, yeah, I didn't have a deadline that I was.
Okay.
I had a personal.
It just sounded like you were saying, hey, if I don't want to get done, I don't want to get done. Oh, well. And I think sometimes people do that within teams. It's a matter of communication.
Correct. And it's,
you and I kind of communicated about doing this episode yesterday, and we had a loose plan that didn't happen, which was fine because we had communicated that. It wasn't, if you had just, hey, 3:00 Tuesday is great for me, and then not shown up, that would have been reckless. And that would have done some damage, I think. Whereas what you're saying is, we had a loose deadline. We both kind of missed it. I didn't even get there for it. No big deal. And then we rescheduled for this morning. Because I would hate for someone to take that as, I can be totally irresponsible.
Well, I think it goes back to the other conversation we had about which is the priority. Now, obviously, yes, you would want to let people know. If I had a deadline and I did that once. I had it that night. At a night, I was supposed to facilitate a meeting, and at probably 2 hours before the meeting, I have one of the worst headaches I've had in a long, long, long time. I had to call him up and be like, look, I just am not going to be effective. I really hate to do this, and I almost never do it, and I just can't get it done. So they postponed, and I think that's what you're saying is that, yeah, you
right.
And if I had something like that, solid.
Right. Well, you work for yourself and I work for yourself, but there's also people that are affected by the things we do.
Did you hear what you said there?
I work for myself.
You said you work for yourself and I work for yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Freudian. I do work for you, Tom. Let's face it.
Fair enough. All right. So should we dive in the topic? I mean, I think we're talking about it a little bit. And
Sure. I think the first three, recognizing, evaluating, and activating, those three really lead up to the key one, which is learning. And I think the more I learn from my experiences, the more I can accomplish what I'm trying to do. And I think where I've had some challenges in my career as I look back is that I didn't always learn the lessons that were available to me. Instead of learning from the situations, I got frustrated by them. I blamed other people. I blamed myself. That was Tuesday's meeting. No one cares about Tuesday's meeting. And then I just move on, and then there'd be another Tuesday meeting, and I would do the same thing over and over and over, and never, oh, hey, it's the way I approach the Tuesday meeting. And I think that's the thing that I find when I'm coaching people that's most interesting is when you step back from the emotion of it with the person and say, hey, okay, I understand that was frustrating. Let me ask you a question. What did you discover from that? What worked well in that situation? They go, well, this worked well. Or they can't come up with something. And you come up with, well, it sounds like, you ran the meeting. You were worried about running the meeting. You ran the meeting, right? Well, yeah, I did. Okay. No one died. The building didn't burn down. And I always start with something really funny like that and get them laughing. And then they're like, well, this happened. Oh, well, that's great. Oh, that sounds like real advanced. I think we tend to magnify the great things that we do and the things that don't work out so great. I know I do. It's either perfect or horrible. That's it. Going back to the golf game. One of the things I think I've really gotten to is moderating the golf game. It's not about being perfect. It's not being about horrible. And I'm not one of those guys after the game. I don't go into the clubhouse and sit there and go, oh, on the 5th hole, my 3rd shot approach was perfect. I can't remember those. If I hit a hole in one, that would probably be the only shot I'd remember. And even then, it would be like, okay, that happened once. That was a great experience. I'd love to have that happen. But at the same time, if the guy I'm playing with, if he hit a hole in one, I'd be equally as excited for him. And my question to him afterwards, when all the noise settled down, would be like, what were you thinking when you hit the ball? Did you know the second you hit the ball that you had a good chance at a hole in one? And if he said, yeah, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Because I've had 2 balls that I've hit that I thought were online really close. One skipped over the hole and missed it by maybe a foot. Another one almost went in the hole in the air, landed right in front of the hole, hit the flag, and bounced back about 20 feet. So what I learned from that is a shot can look perfect. And as it gets up to the hole, it hits something. The wind comes, whatever. And what looked perfect isn't perfect. And so I've come to realize that. And the other thing is, a lot of people play par 3s, which are where you typically get your holes in one. And if they take their first shot and it's not a good shot, they'll take a second shot. I refuse. I won't take a second shot, because if I take that second shot and it goes in and it's a hole in one, it's not a hole in one, it's a hole in 2. I'm not blowing my opportunity. And people laugh at me all the time. I'm like, dude, take another shot. That ball went. No, I'm moving on. That was my chance. And I think that's what I've learned. That's what works for me. Most of the people I play with, like, that's crazy. Take a second shot. But no, that wouldn't be a hole in one. I already took a shot.
Well, that's your perspective.
Which is fine. And I'm very comfortable with that. And I have people often criticize that when I'm playing with them. They're like, take another shot. No, I'm good. What would you do in that situation?
What would I do?
Yeah. Would you take a second shot if your first one went into water or into the woods and you never be able to find it?
Well, I think it's, there's a difference. The ball goes out.
That's right. You're a great golfer and I'm not. I forgot that part.
Didn't say. I think there's a difference. That you hit a shot and it dribbles off the tee, and you hit a shot that then you go, oh, all right, I'm going to take another one and hit it in. Here's what I think is that I'm not judging it. It's in my scorecard, because what the correct score is, well, it's probably a 3 or a 4. Because if I hit the ball and then I don't go play it where it lies, there's probably a penalty at least in that.
Exactly.
And at the same time, in my mind, I would be like, from the tee box, I hit the ball and it went right in the hole, which is a definition of a hole in one. You put it in the hole from the tee box on one swing. And I think that's part of the challenge, right? Is that rather than using it as a learning mindset, we often use it as a judgment. Either how do we judge it, or how does somebody else judge it? I think one of the things you're concerned about is how others would judge you if you said you had a hole in one and you actually had hit one. It was like, nah, I didn't really like that. I'm going to take them all again. And I hit a second one and then it goes in.
No, that's not about others. Actually, that's about me. Me knowing it took 2 shots. So someone goes, oh, you hit a hole one. And in my head, I'm going, it was actually my second shot.
Okay. And that has nothing to do with how other people might look at you.
It's not a hole in one. So rather than get in that situation, I avoid it altogether by not taking a second shot there.
So why do you avoid it? Because you're worried about what they might think?
No, I don't want to be the one to know in my head that I did it on the second shot.
And it wouldn't matter what anybody else thought if they ever found out. If you said you had a hole in one, but you actually did it on a mulligan?
I would know.
Okay. So there's no worry that if someone else was like, oh, yeah, Bob.
No,
he really didn't do that.
When I play golf, it's really about me. It's one of the things that really compels me to play more golf. It's the only thing I've found that forces me to focus on me without apology. And there's so much about golf that really I can carry over to other parts of my life. And I haven't played any golf this year. This is the first time I played golf. I went to the driving range the other night and I was like, oh, I forgot how much I enjoy this. And I realized that that's something that's been missing, because it really does give me a chance to practice some of the skills that I'm trying to bring to other parts of my life. You can't do anything about the shot you took. You can't do anything about the 3 shots down the road. You got to worry about the shot right now. And as you're hitting the ball, if you're having 18 swing thoughts, oh, my elbow's got to be this way and my hips got to be that way and my feet have to be turned this way and I have to count 2 seconds going back, I can never hit the ball. When I swing, it's put my head towards the ball and focus on hitting the ball. That's all that matters. Half the time, I don't even see where the ball goes. I'm so focused on just hitting the ball, making solid contact. And I think that's a lesson for me that I've learned, that I've recognized, I've evaluated, I've activated, which is I need to focus on what I'm trying to do in my work. And often I'm focused on 18 other things that are going on. Today is a great example. Even though I'm driving to go play golf, I've scheduled 3 calls while I'm driving. And I've got 3 more calls that I could make while I'm driving. Now, what I should have done is said, you know what? I'm taking the day. Why am I making calls while I'm driving? Didn't do that.
And now you're
And that's me focusing on 6 things when I should focus on 1.
And could you call those 3 people you have calls with and say, hey, look, you know what? I thought I was going to do this, thought I could do it from the car. What I realize is where I'm driving, the reception's not always going to be great. Just telling you, I've been up and down that road a million times. And so maybe we should reschedule this.
I could. And there may be a text to several people with that later this morning. And that's something I didn't recognize yesterday. But it's a habit. As I look at it, what I can learn from it is it's the same thing as playing golf. I'm thinking 15 different swing thoughts. And when I do that, I play horribly. But if I'm just like, you know what, today, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my right hip is turned the right way right before I take the shot. Then I have a good go. And the next time it's like, okay, now let's work on the left foot. And that's what I need to do in my day. What's my focus today? My focus is this, and then I've got a meeting from 7 to 8:30. Even though I told someone I wasn't going to do that meeting, and they rightfully so said, hey, what's the deal? I thought you weren't going to do that meeting. I thought you were going to get an early start. And I'm like, well, and to your point, it was about how I'd be perceived. But this is what we're trying to do here with this getting real. This is the shift in the program over the last couple of weeks as we've thought about it, and now as we're implementing it. What's really going on here? I'm telling you exactly what's going on here. My hope is that by telling you what's going on here and I hear it, I might be able to change it going forward. And I think that's the opportunity, just like with my golf game, when I realized, you know what, I'm never going to be a pro golfer. Why do I care about these shots so much? I'm out here having fun. Okay, I got a 6 instead of a 4. Big deal. Life is not going to end. Heck, I'm happy if I don't lose 15 balls in 18 holes. That's progress. But setting those low bars and then saying at the end, well, it was a gorgeous day. I got to hang out with my cousin. We had fun. We goofed off. One time we saw a really nice eagle. We've seen some other really beautiful, not eagle playing golf, but the actual bird.
Okay.
And we've seen some other things out there that if we were solely focused on golf, we wouldn't have seen the beautiful sunset. We wouldn't have seen the fog coming over Cooperstown as we were playing in Cooperstown, a beautiful course. I was actually more affected by the beauty of the scene at 6:30 in the morning than playing the golf. And had it been 2 years earlier, I would have been focused solely on, oh my God, it's foggy. This is horrible. This is crazy. But I'm like, wow, the sun's coming up. There's a fog. There's a mist. It's cool. It's warming up. It was breathtaking. And I actually stopped. I had the presence of mind to stop and take a picture of the scenery. And I think that's the opportunity that we often forget is we're so busy trying to do that thing, trying to get the golf ball in the hole as quickly as possible, that you forget that you're in this beautiful part of the world. You might see a turtle or a snake, or you might see, I don't know, a tree that you've never seen before. Or I played in the fall and you see a beautiful tableau. Whoa, look at that word. Wow. Pulling it all out of the trees. And I think for 5 or 6 years of playing golf, I never saw any of that because I was so busy going, I can't believe I missed that shot. Jeez, this is such an easy game. And I think that's the opportunity that I see in my business life and in my personal life to take in all the things around me, not just the thing that's going on right that minute.
Sounds like being focused on results rather than being trying to understand and learn from the actions that you're taking.
I don't think seeing the beautiful sunrise when you're playing golf is results.
No, the score,
quite the opposite. I think I was focused on results.
Yeah,
and I think, but what I would tell you also, Thomas, I've recognized that we tend to play sports or games very purely the way we operate in our professional lives. I play golf with a lot of people, and they are very similar. I have a person that I used to play golf with. He used to be a client. He could not make a decision. He would go back and forth on a decision for hours. When he putted the golf ball, you could have read the paper in the time it took him to take a shot. He'd look at it, he'd get up there, think about it, ponder it. What if it's going to go this way, that way? It would take forever. 18 holes with him was really an extra hour because he would analyze that shot and then he'd miss it and drive himself crazy. I played with other people who are like, let's go. What do we, boom, 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 shot, shot, shot. And that's how they approach business. And then I've seen the people who are measured. I've seen the people who get really upset. I've seen the people who take a horrible shot and then they go, well, that wasn't what I expected. And they're laughing about it. And that's how they approach business. So I think the other thing I've really started to recognize is the way we play games, card games. I've seen it with people playing card games, is how we operate in business.
Would you say the same is true for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I have to fight the urge to worry about results.
Yeah, you say you don't in golf.
I try very hard not to. And I try very hard in my business pursuits not to focus on results. So it is definitely an effort that I have to put in.
Well, and I think there's a balance. I do think there's a balance. And I think that, this is results do provide some information.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And as long as we look at them in an effort to gain information, not just judge. You go out and play golf and you shoot 103, you gain some information about the round and yourself and your game. And you don't judge it as, that was the worst game ever. And spend all your time just griping and complaining about either how good it was or how bad it was, rather than trying to take in, okay, what did I take from this? Hey, you know what? I played well at the start, and then things kind of fell apart. Or I haven't played in a while, and it took me a while to get started. Then I sort of picked some things up, and then I remembered all my bad habits and all those things that go into it. And so I think that there is this balance of where we're at. And again, especially if you're not a professional. If you're a professional, results can make a difference on whether you continue or not. And it's really about winning or losing, which is a little, that's the results I think we're talking about is a little different. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, the other balance is, you got the guy who plays really slow His perspective could be, I'm recognizing my situation for what it is. I'm evaluating all the things. I'm deciding what to activate. And then I'm trying to learn from it. So he could make that argument. And you might be like, I hadn't thought about that. I think that also plays into your knowledge, experience, and perspective. Is if he's doing that while there are 3 groups backed up on the tee behind you, he hasn't recognized some things that he might want to do. Is yes, he's focused on what he's doing. He has stopped being focused on what everything else is going on around him and what's the impact of all of that.
Right.
And so I think there is this balance of, how do we take this system and figure out how to leverage it to help us get to where we want to be. And I think that's one of the things that we've been talking about, is especially given this time of year where people are stressed. I'm sure the summer is ending and they're like, oh man, I've got 1 quarter to get to where I want to be at the end of this year. How am I going to do that? And I think our goal is to try to help people do that. And if you feel like you're in that spot and you're really not sure what it's going to look like, you either feel like you're stuck being the guy who's overanalyzing, or you're the person who never analyzes and all you're doing is judging what you've done so far, reach out to Bob or me and we can have a conversation about this program that we're going to be offering to help people get to where they want to be by the end of the year and not spend the whole quarter judging everything that they've done in the past and the results that they've gotten. And now they can't focus on what are the other pieces that are going to help them. And they learn from those things rather than judge them.
It really is a trick. I talk about what I've had to learn on the golf course. It took me about 10, 12 years of playing golf to get to a place where I was like, you know what? I can't drive myself crazy with this anymore. And that was me deciding on my own. When I told my cousin who I play with about this new attitude, he's like, I wanted to tell you this for a while. And my thought was, how much easier would it have been? And could I have heard it if he had walked me through it? And I think that's what we're trying to offer people, is rather than I could have told you this 3 months ago, hey, let's have the discussion. And rather than telling you, helping you uncover it for yourself. Because if my cousin had asked me questions, hey, Bob, how do you feel after you play golf? Oh, I hate myself. I can't believe I go out there. I've wasted time and money. How do you want to feel? I want to feel like I had some fun, but what would the shift be? Oh, I need to change my attitude, blah, blah, blah. I could have probably gotten there in about 45 minutes. And I think that's true of all of us. We tend to not be able to look at the situation from enough perspectives. We're not able to ask ourselves the questions we need to ask. And that's what you and I are offering with this program, where it's get real, get results, and make more money. And make more money stands in for whatever you're trying to do. Have a better relationship with your spouse or significant other. Be able to travel more. Be able to read books every evening and not feel guilty. Be able to spend time with your kids. Be able to work the number of hours you hope to work. That's what we're really trying to get to. So if that's something that's of interest to you, please talk to Tom or me, or you can go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com and it's sitting right there, all the details.
So do you have your one thing?
I do. My one thing is really simple. What we learn when we get real with ourselves is what catapults us forward. If we don't learn from what we do, we're going to repeat the same thing over and over and over and get the same results probably, and get increasingly frustrated and at some point give up. So by learning, we arrest the ability, we stop I can't figure this out, and we start moving towards solutions that ultimately, they may not take us where we want to go, but they'll take us somewhere forward.
Okay. I like that.
How about you?
Mine is simple.
Okay.
One of my favorites. Stop judging, start learning. We spend so much time judging. that we can't figure out how to learn. When we put the judgment aside, we have the opportunity to then start to differently understand what has happened, which usually provides us with some clarity around what to do next.
I like that. Simple and clear.
All right, everyone. If you have a one thing, please feel free to share it in the comments. We welcome it. If you're listening to the podcast, we know there's no place to comment. So we would encourage you to join us in our Sculpt Your Business Facebook group, where you can share your thoughts and ideas there. And you can gain from the value that's been shared by others inside of that. So we look forward to seeing you inside of that Facebook group. If not, we hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you Monday morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
We'll be live too.
As
Back
of now,
in the saddle. Last week before Labor Day.
Correct.
Rock and rolling. Out of controlling. Sorry, it was 70s radio. Wait till I get to Rocktober and Rollvember.
You might want to spend some time going through this process to see
what I can learn about the last 30 seconds of the program.
Correct.
Hey, whatever you do, folks, this weekend, every day, any day, all day, embrace the renegading you. You'll thank yourself. I promise.
All right, everyone, go out and enjoy the day and the weekend. We will see you soon.
Hey, we talked about this program. It's time for you to get real with yourself, and we want to help you do it. Go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. You'll see all the details. In 17 weeks, by the end of the year, you could be rocking and rolling and going towards whatever goal you have. We want to help you get there. It's that simple. See you there.